Move over, Polaris. You ain't got shit on Thuban. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't really care. They're both North Stars. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, roll the intro. Psych! Who's got time for an intro? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Moon Days with Michael. I'm your host, the Raw Channel Michael, and I am cutting out the esoteric middleman and giving you the tools you need to connect yourself right to the source. Now, with that being said, we're talking about Thuban. And what is Thuban? It's a star. Duh, obviously. And where is it? It's in the Draco constellation. But I'm getting way too hyper for this, you know? Mars and Gemini, Mercury and Cancer, my mind's asleep, my freaking my Mars is going crazy. Anyway.
What you talking about, Willis?
There's gonna be a lot of bloopers in this video. This is the first star we're gonna be talking about when we're giving the general overview of the Draco constellation. So with that being said, we're gonna be talking about what this star's influence is by telling you where you can find it, its natures, its fortune, and giving you the basic understanding of what it means to have this placed in your chart. So with that being said, Thuban, the North Star, previously, not currently. So that's going to lead us into a whole nother tangent, but before we actually start talking about the North Star aspect, let's tell you guys where the star is actually placed so you can find it in your chart. So at this point in time, Thuban can be found in 730 degrees of Virgo and has an orb of 1 with the natures of Mars and Saturn. So with that being said, let's give a brief little history of this star, and then we'll actually hop into the important details, basically, you know, its influences. The whole point of you guys watching this video is to understand what this star means.
Is it that obvious? I'm sorry.
So, Thuban means large snake or tail of the dragon in Arabic. However, most people will say that Thuban means the head of the dragon, and this alludes to its actual influences in the Draco constellation of it being the North Star at one point, which we'll get into very shortly, trust me. And at one point, it will be the North Star again, because people don't know how North Stars are calculated. So, let's run through that real quick, because we could make a whole video talking about the 8 or 9 or however many number of fixed stars there could be in the North Star position, right? Between the years of 4000 and 2000 BCE, or BC if you're a freaking sadist. Thuban was the North Star, and this obviously led to a lot of things being built around it, right? Or a lot of meanings interpreted around it. So, for example, a lot of the great pyramids, or pyramids in general, weren't necessarily lined up to be under Thuban. However, the entrances to those pyramids were facing north, so that when they died, they could leave the freaking pyramid, their spirits or whatever, Egyptian pharaohs or whatever, and then go into Thuban and balance the sun and the moon. Egyptians are weird, dude. They're astrologists, but they're not astrologists. I don't know. We're getting off topic. I told you we were going to be getting off topic.
I'm way too hyper for this.
So, like I just mentioned, between the years of 4000 and 2000 BCE, Thuban was the North Star. And as you can see by this picture over here, wherever it is, the yellow circle, or whatever color it is, I'm pretty sure it's yellow, basically shows the rotation of the Earth as it tilts around on its freaking axis like a top or whatever. Every so often, its North Star will change. So right now it's Polaris. In another 4000 or 6,000 years, it'll be some other star, right? And eventually it'll be Thuban all over again. So with that being said, we have numerous stars that can be put in the position of being the North Star. So let's actually hop in and talking about what this means for Thuban, because it is actually very important. So real quick, while we're still on the topic of North Stars, for example, just based off the rotation of the Earth and the tilt of the Earth, when Thuban was the North Star, it was about 10 minutes, or this number, you know, the astrological calculation number, away from being the actual North Star, right? It was a little off, obviously, just Earth and whatever positions. Now it's around 26 degrees away. That's a very large difference. Eventually it'll make its way back around and be important again, but until then, who cares? I'm just kidding, Thuban. Last thing I need is a world eater mad at me, but then again, I'm Archangel Michael, who the hell cares?
Facts.
So let's hop into its influences, and to actually understand its influences and its fortune, you kind of have to understand why it being a North Star is important, and the separation between Thuban and actually the rest of the Draco constellation. And when you're thinking about Thuban and the Draco constellation together, you can think of this as being like a celebrity, right? Or a certain world leader, right? For the most part, world leaders or celebrities are known for a certain thing. It's their mind, the way they talk to people, the charisma, usually the way they present themselves. And Draco is typically known for Thuban, being the world leader and being the North Star. So with that being said, Thuban actually has a lot to do with the influence of Draco itself rather than the other way around. Thuban, oftentimes people will call the head of the snake, and this goes back to what I just mentioned about, you know, celebrities as well as freaking world leaders, how people pick one thing. Well, Thuban is the thing about Draco that people always come back to, right? It's the head of the snake, even though it is technically the start of the tail of the constellation, right? It's the thing that you always look at as being the front page, the center of attention, basically. With Thuban obviously being the North Star at one point, it had a lot to do with navigation, nautical journeys, as well as the organization of the pyramids at a certain point. So this star has a lot of prideful attributes attributed to it, just from the nature of it getting so much attention, of course. But now, if you were the North Star, wouldn't you do that as well? However, we come into a bigger problem with Thuban, and this can lead into some of the more negative aspects of it, as well as the Draco constellation. So with the Draco constellation being the snake, oftentimes called the World Eater, or the god of this world, right, as it kind of wraps around the entire North Pole, its influences can be very prideful, a little bit greedy. So a lot of the negative aspects come from Thuban being the North Star. It has ties to everything in a way. And if you take too much from a certain thing, you get too greedy, what happens? It's your own undoing, right? This can lead to you stumbling into situations you don't want to be in. This influence can be very prideful. It can be very greedy just due to the nature of it being wrapped around the earth and, kind of the center of it. It has ties to everything, and it at some point is going to influence you in many different ways to go after everything, right? You deserve this. You deserve that. Why don't you have this, right? And so this is more of the negative aspects of Thuban. However, this star's influence can often present you with a very sharp mind. It can be very emotional, which can be good or bad depending on the situation, of course. However, with that being said, even though this can be very prideful, very greedy, it has a very positive side of that, and that is the whole attention aspect, right? You can have a lot of people looking at you. You can have a lot of people noticing you, noticing the things you do. You can be very charismatic. You can be very supportive, especially in a very mental and emotional way, and always providing support. This was the star that always helped with travel, that people used to build things around, right? It was very supportive in a way, very comforting in a way, and always provided a guiding light. So even though that the negative aspects of this can be very greedy and prideful, the positive aspects of this star can also be extremely beneficial. And this leads into the whole debacle of the Draco constellation in the first place. Is it good? Is it bad? Who really knows? When it comes down to it, it's all about the individual stars. And this one can be very prideful, but at the same time can be extremely supportive. So when it actually comes into talking about its fortune, and this kind of depends on the way that you use the North Star position, right? Are you going to shine very bright? Are you going to be very supportive and show people the way? Or are you going to be very greedy and start demanding things and have a lot of things brought to you? So, little recap of the World Eater's North Star. It can be found in 730 degrees of Libra with an orb of 1. It's not super bright, however, at the time, no light pollution, and as it also being the North Star, it's kind of hard to miss when you look north. It has the nature of Mars and Saturn. It is very active, very aggressive. Depends on how it sees reality. The North Star, it kind of showed people the way. So of course it has a Saturn influence. This is the way that I see reality. This is the way that we're going to do things. And if you don't like it, then you can go get drowned by going into an iceberg or something. Titanic situation.
My God, Titanic 2.0.
So like I said, at one point it was the North Star, and this has a lot to do with its influence. It can be very supportive, very guiding, show you the way. At the same time, be very greedy, start demanding things be built around it. And that can lead to its ultimate downfall, which I don't really think anybody really wants. Now, of course, even though Thuban is the tail of the dragon, some people like to call it the head of the Draco constellation or head of the serpent, even though, it's not. But if you want a more general overview of the Draco constellation as a whole, check out that video. But with that being said, thanks for watching, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out our social medias, especially our Instagram for the daily alignments. Breaking down every day's energy every day on the daily. You're welcome. Very handy tool. And if you guys would like to request a reading of any kind, email us down below, readings@solarsystems.org. So until next time, bye y'all.